a brutal for him. There we go. I think the YouTube people can hear me now. If you can, please, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know and just let me know if you can hear me. Anyway, so yes, so that is why Chauncey Billups was arrested yesterday. We'll find out if he's co-conspirator 8 or not. All right. So from there, all of these ideas are coming out. Terry Rozier, his arrest, straight up, he pulled a Jonte Porter, had his buddies bet way too much money on his under, and then he would go out and get the under on his points or his rebounds or whatever it was. And all these people are coming up with ideas like, this is how you fix this. This is how you correct this. I don't have the answer to that. Okay? I don't. Here's what I do know, and here's what continues to bother me. The fact that gambling is legal is what allowed for Terry Rozier to be caught. According to Brian Windhorst, who does a really good job covering this stuff, he was caught on the day that it happened, and that's because gambling is so heavily regulated. It's very easy to track that stuff. If it wasn't legal, you wouldn't be able to regulate it like this. I don't know if you've seen, there's a great documentary on Netflix about Arizona State in 1994. They had a couple of guys rig games when you could only bet in Vegas. And they rigged like 4 or 5 games. And it took them a decent amount of time to figure out that was what was happening. And so it's fantastic. I forget the name of it, but like I said, the documentary, it's so good. Anyway, so anyway, they could get rid of prop bets. I've seen people propose this idea, but you'd still have people trying to rig the spread. Part of the Netflix documentary, why it took them so long to catch the guys at Arizona State playing basketball, is because that's what they were doing. They were rigging the spread, and it's a little bit harder to catch guys doing that, right? Whereas like with a prop bet, they have numbers for everything, So like if Terry Rozier, if the normal amount of money placed on his points prop is, to make math easy, $1,000. And there's a guy who comes in and bets 10 grand on his under, then that obviously that sets off a flag. It's like, this guy, we're betting way too much money on this. Something is clearly up. So I kind of like the idea of keeping the prop bets around in those things. Okay. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you fix this. But my single biggest issue with the way that people have talked about this, especially the media, is I know for a fact that it is Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups' fault for that they got arrested for doing this. The number of people that I have seen blame the NBA or blame FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever it is for having a partnership with the NBA is insane. This is not the NBA's fault for putting FanDuel and DraftKings logos all over the place. Because the NBA's ultimate goal is to make money. That is their goal. And if DraftKings or FanDuel wants to pay a whole bunch of money to have their logo everywhere, then the NBA should 1,000% do that. The NBA is not in charge of the decisions that Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups make. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups made a conscious decision to do what they did, whether that's rig poker games or rig their prop bets like Terry Rozier did. They know the rules and they know the laws. Whatever happened to holding people accountable for the decisions that they make? Like, what's up with this? It's everybody else's fault thing. When I was a kid, we had a cookie jar in our kitchen. It was cool. It was like a bear holding on to like a cookie with a bite taken out of it, And I would walk by that thing every time I was in the kitchen. Okay, I'm like 8 years old. I would see it multiple times every day. Just like these guys at these NBA arenas, I'm sure they're walking by like the FanDuel Club and they got it up on like the tunnel walls whenever they're walking out. And, like you look up at the scoreboard and it's like, here's the DraftKings parlay of the night or whatever it is. Like the cookie jar I would see every day, multiple times a day, when I was 8 years old, they see that DraftKings logo or the BetMGM logo several times a day when they're in the gym. So as a kid, I would see this cookie jar every day. And if I walked by it and I reached my hand in that cookie jar and I took it when I'm not supposed to, whose fault is it? If I had looked at my parents, because it's clearly my fault for taking the lid off the jar, reaching my hand in, grabbing a cookie, and then taking it. If I had looked at my parents and said, guys, this is your fault. You're the one who makes me look at it every day. They'd have been like, are you crazy? And I would have gotten even more of a butt spanking than I already was going to get for stealing the cookie when I wasn't supposed to. Like, that 8-year-old kid who reaches in the cookie jar, it's his fault or her fault for reaching in and taking it, and they have to pay the consequences for it. It's not the parents' fault for leaving the jar out on the counter. It's the same thing here. It is not the NBA or FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever sports book you want to put in there. It is not their fault for having a partnership and plastering their logos all over the place. It is Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups' fault for doing what they did. What happened yesterday or last season did not happen as a result of the NBA's relationship with gambling sites. This happened because Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups got greedy, and they saw an opportunity to make more money, and they thought that they could get away with it, and they didn't. In fact, part of why they got caught is because of the NBA's relationships with those gambling sites. Because when something is flagged, like, hey, the betting increase on Terry Rozier's under just went up by 200%, and it gets flagged. You know what happens? FanDuel or DraftKings or whoever, they pick up the phone and they call the NBA and they say, hey, this is going on. We think someone is rigging these lines. And both parties are then immediately fully invested in figuring that out. Because if the lines are being rigged, obviously the sports book doesn't want to lose money. And obviously, if a player is rigging games, the NBA doesn't want that because they don't want their games to be rigged. So some of this stuff doesn't happen without that relationship. And guess what? Even if there was no relationship, Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier still probably would have done it. Because they did these things because they thought that they could get away with it. That's why anyone does anything. It's like, I'm going to steal from this guy because I think that I can get away with it. And then when they don't, there's no one to blame except for themselves. Okay, so please, if you're one of the people blaming the NBA in their relationships with sports books, please just don't have an opinion on this anymore because you're wrong. Ultimately, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups made these decisions, and they need to be held accountable for them. And honestly, whether there were relationships with, FanDuel or in the NBA or whatever it is or not, like these things would still happen because this is just how people are. We live in a very broken and messed up world, and this is sadly how people act. Pacers, by the way, going to be a lot of fun this year. I don't know how many games they're going to win. They're clearly going to win. They're going to be over 500. That they're a really good team to be able to go into double overtime against a really good Thunder team where Andrew Nembhard gets hurt, and you don't have your best player in Tyrese Halliburton. Really impressive stuff. Benedict Mathurin. Everyone's complaining about how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander took 26 free throws, which is a lot. Benedict Mathurin took 17, and Pascal Siakam took 12. The Pacers as a whole shot 11 less free throws than the Thunder did, and they took 8 more threes. So I actually thought that the foul calling was pretty even. The difference in the game, the Thunder shot significantly better from the foul line than the Pacers did. So I didn't really have too big of an issue with the officiating last night. Had a lot of fun watching Benedict Mathurin kind of get to be full-on Benedict Mathurin. Pascal Siakam's going to have another really good year. Hopefully he shoots better than 5 of 12 from the foul line. Jeez Louise. Jarris Walker, I forgot who it was yesterday, but they came in my YouTube chat telling me Jarris Walker wasn't very good. Had a pretty decent night last night. 6 of 11 from the field, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 13 points. You know, after Nembhard went out, he was the guy that they trusted to put on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just saying. Anyway, that's gonna do it here for the basketball talk. We're gonna get back to football in 4 minutes. A lot of gambling coming your way next.
Had I not reached out to them. Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies.
I owe the IRS $37,000.
They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS. By the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-211-69. 800-211-69. Don't wait. Call now. 800-211-69. 800-211-69.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Students who can read by the end of the grade, 35% more likely to graduate. I'm Dr. Katie Kenner, Indiana Secretary of Education, here to tell you how reading 30 minutes per day can improve the trajectory of a child's life. Whether you are reading with your child or they are reading independently, this is one of the most important things you can do to help them succeed. So this school year, please encourage your child to continue reading. It's a small habit that makes a big difference.
Sponsored by the Indiana Department of Education here by the station.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Stroke. Super hard, obviously. The whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife, and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/life.
Next Roll is a groundbreaking podcast created and executive produced by Vernon Davis.
Providing cinematic storytelling with thought-provoking conversations.
The series explores the transformative journeys of athletes, artists, comedians, and entrepreneurs.
As they redefine their careers and push creative boundaries.
Next Roll isn't about what's next.
It's about the fear they have to fight through, the resilience, and what they have to do to achieve everything at the highest level possible.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Radio and TV stations throughout Indiana are now hiring, and a statewide broadcasting career fair is coming up on Tuesday, October 28th in Indianapolis. Stations are filling jobs for journalists, sales teams, promotions, engineering, IT, and production. Make an impact that can be felt throughout your community. Your broadcast career starts here at the Broadcasting Career Fair. Get details and register now at indianabroadcasters.org.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Ranger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Also that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-RANGER, click Ranger.com, or just stop by. Ranger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're 50 or older, it is recommended that you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia, a potentially serious bacterial lung disease that can disrupt your life for weeks. If you're an adult, 19 to 40, with certain underlying medical conditions like asthma, diabetes, chronic heart disease, or COPD, vaccination is also recommended. Talk to your doctor about vaccination today and learn more at lung.org/protect yourself. Furnished by the American Lung Association in collaboration with Pfizer.
Listen Fridays to Dan Dockage for the sure shot of the weekend. Presented by Moondrops Distillery. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, 14:30 a.m. If you want to head over there. I'm tired. Okay, this whole getting up early thing, it's got me all messed up. Let me try that again. Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, hop in the chat to be part of the conversation. You can also watch the show on X__ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show. They're just crossed into 900 followers. Pretty sick. You can also listen to the show on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you download your apps. And, of course, 14:30 a.m. as well. I want to talk gambling, but before I do that, I told my wife that I would tell this story. So yesterday, I just decided to be a good husband. I try to make that decision every day. Some days I'm more successful than others. So I leave here, go work out, do all those things. Big leg day yesterday. And I get done. My gym is like 10 minutes from where my wife, teaches. So I'm like, hey. So and I get out. She's gonna, be done with school and like 20 minutes or something like that. So I got like 20 minutes to spare. So I go buy like some like fall themed flowers, and I bought this new like board game thing that she doesn't like playing because we played like 6 times last night and I went 5-1. Not, just a little humble brag there. And so I show up, surprise her, like, game, flowers, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, we should also go out and get dinner tonight. And she's like, yeah, let's do that. So we go to Potbelly Sandwiches. I love that place. Potbelly. It's so good. Like love that place. And it's kind of a nostalgic thing. Before I moved up here, I came up here for the Sweet 16, the COVID year of the NCAA tournament when all the games were played here in Indy. And the first place I got food was at Potbelly Sandwiches downtown on the circle. Just so good. Anyway, so they just opened one in Greenwood, and I've never been dumbfounded before by an employee of any restaurant. And as someone who worked at Chick-fil-A in high school, waited tables for like 3 years when I was, first got into the radio thing and wasn't making any money and doing all that kind of stuff. I've worked in that industry for more than enough to know kind of how it works. So we order our food, we get our drinks. My wife goes, sits down. I'm like getting her drink, and she likes Coke, like a lot of people do. And so I get her a Coke, and the syrup's out, because like the syrup and the carbonated thing they mix, and that's what makes it, right? I walk over to the girl working the register and I say, hey, your Coke syrup is out. She looks at me and she goes, yeah, I know. I don't know how to fix it. And like that was the end of the discussion. Like no one here knows how to fix this. It was one of the most frustrating things. I just like was so shocked that she just was like, yeah, I don't know. Good luck. Just standing there dumbfounded. It was incredible. I've never complained to a manager before. I almost did. I almost wanted to be like, hey man, like, can you get like literally anyone? And it's not hard anyway. Sorry. My wife, she texted me. And so I was thinking about that. Anyway, I took way too long to tell that story. Let's get to the bets. Biggest college football games of the weekend. I'm going to run through these bets, and then I'll probably run through my NFL bets starting at 8, and then we'll have Shea Hunt and Jay Raja on at 8:20. Biggest college football games of the weekend. Ole Miss playing at Oklahoma. I'm taking Oklahoma minus 5.5 in a heartbeat. I really like this team. I think I like Oklahoma more than everybody else. This defense is better than Georgia's. They have a better quarterback than Georgia. It's tough to win on the road, especially in Norman. And I like this Ole Miss team. I don't think that they get it done on the road in Norman, though. John Mateer, I think he has a big game against a struggling Ole Miss defense. Oklahoma gets a couple really big stops. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma won this game by 10. This is a game that I will absolutely be betting. Absolutely. South Florida is playing Memphis. A big game in the American Conference, which seems to be the best group of 6 conference in college football this year. Whoever wins this game is going to put themselves in a pretty prime position to make the college football playoff as the non-Power 4 team. I'm taking South Florida because I don't think that there's a team in the group of 6 that can stop that team from scoring. People were talking about North Texas like they were going to beat South Florida, and South Florida was just like, we're going to score 63. And if you can score 64, then you can beat us. And North Texas could score like 35, and that was it. So give me South Florida there, minus 6.5. This is not a big game. This next one is not a big game on a national scale, but it is on a local one. Purdue is a 1.5-point underdog at home to Rutgers. I mean, if not now, then when, Coach Odom? If not now, then when? You have a prime opportunity. You have a prime opportunity to win a Big Ten game. I mean, these are the moments that you prepare for. They haven't won a Big Ten game in like a year and a half. Go win this one. This is your opportunity because you're not going to beat Michigan. You're not going to beat Ohio State. You're not going to beat Washington. And you're not going to beat IU. Those are the 4 games that they have left after this one. Improve to 3-5, and let's see what happens after that. All right. Next one, an actual big game. Missouri's playing at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 2.5-point favorite. Tough to win on the road in college football. Okay, when the line is close like this, I like to take the home team. That's what I'm doing today. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt minus 2.5. I don't know who's going to win this game. You could convince me one way or the other. What I do know is that both of these teams are going to score a bunch of points. Okay, both of these teams have electric quarterbacks. Both teams can run the football. I would take the over 53.5 before I bet the line one way or the other. I think that there's just going to be a ton of points scored in this game. Missouri's got probably the best running back in college football, a guy who had some Heisman hopes, doesn't really have them anymore. Vanderbilt, it's, Diego Pavia, who's got some Heisman hopes as well. So a lot of just good offensive talent in this game. Eli Stowers, he's the tight end for Vanderbilt. He's the best tight end in college football. Like the dude is an absolute stud. Should probably win the Mackey Award this year. We'll see if that happens or not. But Missouri, Vanderbilt should be a lot of points. BYU versus Iowa State, we have a weird line alert. A very weird line alert. Iowa State is favored by 2.5 against 11th ranked BYU. They're a good team. Iowa State is. They've just dealt with a lot of injuries. They've gotten a little bit healthier. I haven't really been super impressed by BYU. They've beaten one good team that's not even ranked. That's Utah. Outside of that, their schedule's been a birthday party. It's just a bunch of cupcakes. All right. Illinois, they're playing at Washington. Washington's a 4.5-point favorite. Love Washington here. I think that they just score a ton of points, and I don't think that Illinois really has the offense to keep up with the point output, with the outpouring of points that Washington is going to have in that game. And then the night game, biggest game of the night, Texas A&M, minus 2.5 at LSU. LSU's at home at night. And usually I would bet LSU at home at night when they're getting points. That being said, I think LSU is overrated. Texas A&M hasn't won on the road at LSU since they entered the SEC. They actually haven't won on the road at LSU since 1994. With that being said, this is the first time that it happens. LSU should not be ranked. I know it's tough to win there at night, but Texas A&M is more than capable of doing it. I think LSU really struggles to move the football. And then the Brian Kelly, should he be fired, talks heat up even more than they already have. So give me Texas A&M -2.5 on the road at LSU. So those are my college football bets. I don't have time to run through all of my NFL bets. And I was asked over in the X chat, because I guess that you could do that by Timothy Bowman. If Ballard doesn't make a move, does blitzing more help man coverage? The answer to that question is it depends. And my whole thing is I just really hope that we don't have to wait and see if blitzing is the answer to the Colts' problems. That was the answer to the Vikings' problems last year with their defense. I think the answer is really just being exotic and mixing up coverages. That's how they've been successful so far. But hopefully, Chris Ballard finds a way to make a move soon, while we all just sit around and wait to see if he's going to do anything or not. That's all we're doing. We're watching and we're waiting for Chris Ballard to make any sort of trade whatsoever. And I just want him to make a move. I'm so sick of it's not going to matter this week because the Titans are so bad. But they are going to play a good team again here at some point. And when they do, I would like to have a little bit of faith in the Colts and in their ability to go and win the game. Because they're just better, not because the opposing team's quarterback is going to make a mistake. They're going to play the Steelers, not this Sunday, but next. The Falcons, that's another good team. And then they have the Chiefs. And so, within these next 3 weeks, which they'll have to make a move here soon, because I believe that the trade deadline is November 3rd. So we're coming up on it here pretty quickly. And yeah, there's got to be someone out there. There has to be someone out there for them to go out and get. And so we'll see what they wind up doing. But I really wish that they had just made a trade to go get Newsome, a cornerback from the Browns. Good player. 25 years old, Greg Newsome II. The Browns weren't going to be able to extend him, so they moved him. That guy would have been so good for the Indianapolis Colts. And part of me understands it because they want to what's the word here? They obviously don't want to bring in too good of a player because they just spent a 3rd-round pick on Justin Wally, right? So there's a part of them being concerned about the future, right? And what was the point of taking Justin Wally in the 3rd round if you're just going to trade for a corner? Also, you don't want to give up assets for a rental. So I understand that as well. And so that kind of leads me to believe that they'll go edge rusher. But at the same time, teams aren't in a hurry to get rid of good edge rushers. And, is Chris Ballard going to be willing to pay an extra 10 cents on the dollar for a guy? The answer is no, because that's just not who he is. So I don't know if the Colts are going to make a trade or not. I really hope that they do. But if not, hopefully we see Lou Anarumo find a way to get weird and get stops, even without a premier pass rusher or a really good secondary. So we'll see. I know that doesn't fully answer your question, Tim, but I think the answer is sometimes blitzing helps. Sometimes blitzing helps your coverage, and sometimes it doesn't. Just kind of depends on who you're playing against. Usually against the better quarterbacks in the NFL, it tends to hurt more than it helps. That is one thing that all the elite quarterbacks have in common. They tear up teams that blitz. Simple as that. When we come back, top of the hour, my 5 NFL bets of the week, and of course, the Kirk Cousins bet of the week as well on this beautiful, beautiful Friday.
my plumber knows without regular testing and maintenance, your sump pump can break down and cause thousands in damage. Avoid the nightmare. Schedule our sump pump stress test. Now just $49. Go to cartersmyplumber.com.
We know to contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before every dig. But did you know spraying a white line around your area and utility flags placed only in that area? Fewer flags in the yard, easier mowing, everybody.
Except for my kid.
I don't want to mow the yard.
Contact Indiana 811 and white line for every project. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com. Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
Find what you love and love what you find. Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Remember when they used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? At Bank of America, we ask every day, what would you like the power to do? When you work here, you help build businesses, inspire communities, and forge legacies. And now we've raised our U.S. minimum wage to $25 an hour, so the opportunity to do more also comes with competitive pay. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/25. Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Find what you love and love what you find. Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be delayed. Listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Granger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Also that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
If you are 50 or older, it is recommended that you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia, a serious bacterial lung disease that can disrupt your life for weeks. If you're an adult reporting with certain underlying medical conditions like asthma, diabetes, chronic heart disease, or COPD, vaccination is also recommended. Talk to your doctor about vaccination today and learn more at lung.org/protectyourself. Furnished by the American Lung Association in collaboration with Pfizer.
Students who can read by the end of third grade are 35% more likely to graduate. I'm Dr. Katie Jenner, Indiana Secretary of Education, here to tell you how reading 30 minutes per day can improve the trajectory of a child's life. Whether you are reading with your child or they are reading independently, this is one of the most important things you can do to help them succeed. So this school year, please encourage your child to continue reading. It's a small habit that makes a big difference.
Sponsored by the Indiana Department of Education, aired by the station.
Indy Sports Tickets coverage of Westwood One's college football is presented by Moondrops Distillery, the magic of shared experiences. This is Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
This is Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, WXMTA, Indianapolis, WMDX HD2, Lawrence, Indianapolis, a Cumulus media station. Let's do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. A lot of gambling talk this week, a lot of it. The NBA, they've got their issues. I just did a whole thing on, the college football and all the bettable games this week. 5 NFL bets, as we do every single Friday. And, of course, we'll close it out with the Kirk Cousins bet of the week as well. I'm not betting the Colts this week, 14.5 points. Just way too many. If they covered it, would I be surprised? Absolutely not, especially given all the injuries that the Tennessee Titans currently have and how healthy this Colts team is. Feels like a really nice Sunday for the Colts where they just kind of cruise. So maybe I'm not going to bet it. It's just too many points. Anyway, 5 NFL bets. My favorite one, I'm taking the 49ers plus 2.5 on the road against Houston. Well, Jonathan, what about the Nick Bosa injury and the Fred Warner injury and, all the injuries that the San Francisco 49ers have? I don't care how many injuries the San Francisco 49ers have. The Houston Texans are terrible. There's just no other way to put it. The Texans are awful. They can't block anybody. Robert Saleh could line me up at edge rusher, and I think I'd find a way to get to C.J. Stroud. And I'm only like 75% kidding there whenever I say that. Some of you are probably like, Jonathan, you can't be serious. I don't know. I've been getting up early. Maybe I'm a little loony. I don't know. But Robert Saleh, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, a guy who should 1,000% get another head coaching job this rehiring cycle. Let him go coach at a place that's not the New York Jets, and let's kind of see how things work from there, because that place is the definition of dysfunction. So Robert Saleh is going to find a way to scheme up stops for that San Francisco 49ers defense. I have all the faith in the world in him to do that. And then Kyle Shanahan's going to find a way to score points because that's what Kyle Shanahan does. He's, you could argue, the best offensive coach in football. Trent Williams is healthy. Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Brock Purdy, I believe, is back this week. And even if he's not, Mac Jones has been good. I know the Texans' defense is elite. But here's the thing. You don't have to score 28 points to beat the Texans. Can you break 20? If you can break 20, then you've got a great chance at beating Houston. Okay, so I am betting against the Houston Texans offense, and I am betting on Kyle Shanahan's ability to scheme up points and Robert Saleh's ability to scheme up stops. Give me the 49ers plus 2.5 on the road against Houston. I'm also taking another road dog. I'm taking the Bears plus 6.5 on the road against the Ravens. I know that Lamar Jackson is back for Baltimore this week. I know that they're coming off of a bye. Here's the thing. Outside of Lamar Jackson, this team has been nothing short of terrible. They lost to the Houston Texans 44-10. The defense is still bad, whether Lamar Jackson comes back or not. It's legitimately one of the worst in the NFL. And while the Ravens have been on a steady decline, the Bears are building something. They've gotten better. The Bears have figured out how to run the football. DeAndre Swift, back-to-back 100 rushing yard games. Caleb Williams, he's been a little up and down. There's some moments where you're like, there we go. That's the guy that I saw at USC and knew immediately that he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. And then there are moments where it's like, why was this guy the number 1 overall pick again? Why didn't Jaden Daniels go number 1? And then you're like, oh, wait, Jaden Daniels is hurt again. That's why. And then it's like, why didn't Drake May go? Why didn't he go number 1? So Caleb Williams, he's been up and down, but the one consistent thing for him throughout his entire career, going back to last year, the guy doesn't throw interceptions. Last year, his touchdown to interception ratio was 3-1, 20 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. So he's not going to turn the ball over against Baltimore. The Bears are probably going to find a way to run the football, and if they can do that, that opens up everything else for this Bears offense, right? The play action then becomes a little more dynamic, and then Romo Dunze is getting involved, and then they're finding DJ Moore, and then Luther Burden's all of a sudden streaking down the sideline for a touchdown, and so on. So I really like the Bears plus 6.5. I think it winds up being a very high-scoring game, but, honestly, if the Bears went outright, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how low I am on Baltimore right now. I get it. Lamar Jackson, he's great, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But at some point, you have to stop somebody. And I just don't think that the Ravens can do that consistently enough. Bills at Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers plus 7.5. Home dog getting 7.5 points? Let me back that up. A 4-3 Panthers home dog getting 7.5 points. The Panthers aren't bad anymore. Are they good? I don't think so, but they're certainly not bad. And a not bad team is getting 7.5. I get that Bryce Young is hurt right now, sprained his ankle, but he's day to day. If you're day to day, then I think he's going to play on Sunday. And if he does play, I love this number. If he doesn't play, I'm betting on Andy Dalton, and I don't think I love that. But I'll be honest, it's not a great board this week. There weren't many other bets that I like, so I figured I'd risk it on Bryce Young playing because it's one of those things where if Bryce Young is announced that he's going to play, this line probably moves from plus 7.5 to like plus 4.5, somewhere in there. I like getting an extra 3 points by betting this a little early. So Panthers at home plus 7.5. And here's the thing. Here's why I like it, even if Andy Dalton does wind up being the starting quarterback for the Panthers on Sunday. The Panthers aren't about throwing the football. They're not going 5 wide. Let's throw the football all over the yard. They're lining it up. 12 personnel, one running back, 2 tight ends, and they're handing the football off to Rico Dowdle, who's been one of the best running backs in the NFL this year, or Chuba Hubbard. They're running the crap out of the football. They're going to shorten the game. They're going to keep Josh Allen on the sideline because this Buffalo Bills run defense has been the worst in the NFL this year. Now, some of that will be fixed at Oliver. Their stud defensive tackle, he got hurt. He is now back. He will help with that Bills defense. But the Bills defense isn't going to go from the 32nd ranked team in the NFL in yards per carry allowed to like 7th because Ed Oliver's back. They'll probably go from like 32nd to like 20th. Maybe. That feels like a rather large jump. So even with Ed Oliver back, I still don't love this Bills defense. That's not going to be enough to slow down this Panthers rushing attack. Bills win, but the Panthers covered that 7.5 point spread. Cowboys at Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos minus 3.5. This is the first favorite that I'm taking this weekend. I'm taking the Broncos. The Cowboys can score, but the Cowboys can't stop anybody. It's the reality of it. I don't like the Broncos offense, at least to start the year. But against this Cowboys defense, I love Bo Nix and Sean Payton and the rest of this offense. Right? They are going to put up quite a few points against this Dallas Cowboys defense. That desperate, like you talk about the Colts needing a pass rusher. The Cowboys are so desperate they went and signed Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, come on. So I expect for the Broncos to score a bajillion points on Sunday at home against Dallas. And while this Dallas offense has been spectacular, Dak, like they're wasting one of the best years of Dak's career by not having a good defense. Because if they had like they're in a very similar position to the Indianapolis Colts, where you could argue that the Cowboys have had the best offense in the NFC, and the issue is their defense is worse than the Colts. And so they're wasting a really good Dak Prescott year. But they're about to play against this Denver Broncos defense that I do believe is the best defense in the NFL. So not as many points for that offense. I think that the Broncos win this game pretty easily. Like if they won this game by double digits, it wouldn't be very surprising. So tougher sledding for that Dallas Cowboys offense paired with much easier sledding for that Denver Broncos offense. Should result in a pretty comfortable Broncos win. I honestly think that they win by at least a touchdown. We'll see if that's what winds up happening or not. So give me the Broncos minus 3.5 at home against the Cowboys. And then you got the Packers minus 2.5. That's what I'm taking here at the Steelers. Sunday Night Football. This is where the Steelers begin to lose. This is where it starts. Steelers are currently 4-2. You look at like the NFL standings, they're sitting up there with, the Colts at 6-1 and the Broncos and the Patriots who are both 5-2. And, they're currently the 4 seed in front of the 4-2 Buffalo Bills and all this kind of stuff, right? And this week they're going to play the Steelers and they're probably going to lose. And then next week they're going to play the Colts and they're probably going to lose. The Chargers got healthy and then they just curb stomped the Vikings. They're on the road there in 3 weeks. They're probably going to lose that one as well. And then, maybe they'll beat the Bengals and then they're at the Bears. That game won't be easy and so on. So this is where they start to drop games. I really like this Packers team. When they made the trade for Micah, everyone was like, oh, the Packers, they're awesome. And then they lost a weird game to the Browns, who aren't bad. The Browns just can't score. But that defense is pretty stellar. So they lose that game. They haven't lost any other game. They tied with Dallas in what was a really fun game to watch. They're still really good. And I think that they're going to go on the road to Pittsburgh and win pretty easily. I think Micah Parsons runs down Aaron Rodgers a couple of times because this offensive line for Pittsburgh isn't great. They don't really run the ball very well. This Packers defense is so good. And then once again, their defense just isn't very good. And I think that Jordan Love and that offense really kind of find a way to carve them up. So I think that they cover the 2.5-point spread with relative ease. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game by double digits. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm surprised that the line is as low as it is. If I had expected this, then probably wouldn't be betting it. So Packers minus 2.5 on the road against Pittsburgh. Betting a lot of road teams this week. 49ers plus 2.5, Bears plus 6.5, Packers minus 2.5. We'll see how it goes. And as we do every single Friday, last thing here before we welcome in Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports, we're going to talk a little college football. It's always a blast whenever he comes on. But before we have him on, it's time for our Kirk Cousins bet of the week. We do this every week. We take a road dog on the money line because Kirk Cousins had this legendary quote last year. Shout out Kirk Cousins, man. I love that he said that. Anyway, so our Kirk Cousins bet of the week, where we take a team on the road that is an underdog. We take them on the money line. And this week, we're taking the 49ers, who are a 2.5-point underdog. We are taking them on the money line against the Texans. Get you some plus odds in there. That Texans team is, I think, overrated. That offensive line, it's new. New doesn't always mean better. Sometimes new means worse. And that's exactly what it means for the Houston Texans as of this week. And they just, I don't know. They're very much underachieving. They don't really have the weapons. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the offensive line. I like CJ Stroud. I think he's a really good player. But it's hard to play quarterback well when you're constantly running for your life. That's part of why I've really enjoyed watching Justin Herbert this year. By the way, they got Joe Alt back last night, and all of a sudden they scored 37 on a Brian Flores defense, and they could run the football. So thankfully Joe Alt didn't play when they played the Colts. So anyway, don't really like Houston. I think that they're overrated. Give me the 49ers on the road plus 2.5, and give me them on the money line. If Houston loses this game, Like I think that they will. Just they're out of the race for this division. They'll be 2-5. That's probably 5 games behind the Colts with 10 games left to go after this week. So would be pretty tough for them to make up that ground. And so it'll be a 2-team race after that. I think Jacksonville's off. I think Jacksonville's off this week. Is that what's happening? Yes, they are. They are off this week. So the Titans and the Colts, the only teams in the AFC South playing. Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports, he's joining the show here in about 4 minutes. We're going to talk about UCLA IU, mainly why UCLA is better now than they were. And then he wrote an article on just like the best jobs available in the world of college football with all these head coaches getting fired. We're going to touch on that a little bit as well. Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports when we come back in 4 minutes.
My plumber knows without regular testing and maintenance, your sump pump can break down and cause thousands in damage. Avoid the nightmare. Schedule our sump pump stress test. Now, just $49. Go to CarterSmartPlumber.com.
CarterSmartPlumber.com. Hi, I'm Amanda. Last week, I got your 16-year-old son to send me a private pic, just for fun. The thing is, it was more than fun for me. I just texted him demanding $500, or I'm going to send the photo to you and everyone he knows, because I'm actually
a 41-year-old guy named Chad, and I got bills to pay.
Extortion is a crime that manipulates teens into sharing private photos and videos, preying on fear and shame. Go to InternetCrimesAgainstKids.com to learn how to start a conversation with your teen. This message sponsored by the Indiana State Police.
Everything you need to turn your home into a beacon of holiday cheer. So whether you're going all out or just adding a few holiday touches, we've got you covered. Trees, yard decor, and more. Save time decorating one of our easy-to-assemble little trees, or pick up a piece of our Yuletide laying decor collection and fill your yard with holiday joy. Whatever you need, find everything you need to get your holiday started at the Home Depot.
Well, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
That's your thing. So no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking.
That's a keeper. So, where are you headed?
Off to spread the good news, the Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
You're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One and member FDIC.
Wesley Financial Business, not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not a firm. This is Chuck. If someone talks you into buying something really silly, and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-838-6767. That's 800-838-6767.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you.
What's up, Shehan? How are you, man? Don't even worry about it. It's all good. I'll tell you the truth. I overslept my alarm on Tuesday and barely got here on time to do a show. So don't even worry about it, man. Thanks for finding some time for today. We'll start with the UCLA story because they're interesting and they're playing IU, and then I want to talk about your rankings for the best head coaching jobs available, and then probably just some generic college, some generic stuff after that if we have time. So we're going here in 30 seconds. Thanks, man.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MEGA25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MEGA25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MEGA25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Dan Talking to New, the real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, passes Indy Sports Ticket 1438, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Indiana has a big game coming up this Saturday against UCLA, and it's a big game because when you're on the verge of going undefeated, every game then becomes big. I'm now joined by Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports. Shehan, what's going on, man? How are you? Of course. So Coach Cignetti said it to start the week. He's like, we're playing a 3-0 team, which is, I think, it's just, coaches being coaches and doing the whole, we got to give everyone our full attention thing. Why is UCLA better now than they were at the start of the year? What's changed?
Games just a little bit better. They look more prepared. They look like they're practicing better. They look more physical. And so again, I mean, so much of the time in college football, it's not just a talent issue. It's also at times a preparation issue. And I think they've done a much better job of that since Sean Foster was fired.
Okay. Why do you think people are acting like Tim Skipper isn't the interim? I love the it's so I think it's funny just because once again joined by Shehan Jayaraja, who does a great job covering college football. You can read all the stuff over at cbssports.com. I just every time they cut to Jerry Neuheisel, I just immediately think about Sunshine from Remember the Titans, and he just feels like UCLA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just some coaches where like you just see them. Like, I know Coach O at LSU didn't like pan out, but whenever he would talk, whenever they'd cut to him, I'm like, yeah, like that dude just looks like Louisiana football, And Jerry Neuheisel, I think, checks that box for UCLA, and I wonder if that's part of it as well.
had the opportunity to continue being a part of UCLA. And so, I mean, again, I think that this is just for that reason. I don't think that it's always going to be like this. I think that again, we'll see what happens with the coaching search. We'll see what happens with Tim Skipper. But like, it's one of those rare relationships, especially for programs that haven't had a ton of success, that don't have like Cam Newton necessarily out there, who don't have whoever else. Like I think that it's just in so many ways, like when you have these individuals who dedicated themselves to a program that, I mean, just to be frank, like it hasn't always deserved the strict dedication. I think that that's always going to stick for people.
Joined by Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports, where he does a great job covering college football. CBSSports.com. If you want to go and read his articles over there, as he said, Chris Hummer, he's got a great article up on Tim Skipper. As he got to do an interview with him. So, Shehan, I want to talk about an article of yours that I read, I guess, last week, where you ranked the top college football head coach openings. But before I do, like, Florida is obviously like a really big job. There's a chance that the LSU job comes open as well. Who are some of the like currently employed head coaches who might be willing to leave a good job for a place like Florida or LSU?
Let's even take Penn State, put them in there as well. Like I think that it's going to be harder than ever before to attract coaches from, let's call it, above average power conference programs, because every power conference program at this point can essentially make it worth your while to stay, whether that comes through NIL and rev share investment, whether that comes through salary. Like the amount of money available right now is kind of off the charts. And so if you're at a program that can consistently score conference championships in postseason, like I think the incentive to leave is a little different than, of course, I'm speaking of coaches like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. I think that Eli Drinkwitz at Florida, I think, is a really interesting one. I think, at Missouri is a really interesting one. I think that he's kind of in this between where he's at a program where he's done a great job, but maybe there would be a different level of upside. So I think you kind of have to look for these coaches and feel like, one, maybe I can't reach national caliber at my place, but two, maybe if I went to Florida or LSU, that could be different. So, obviously Lane's going to get a lot of attention. I think that Lane, regardless of what happens next, is probably going to get a big contract, whether from Ole Miss or from somebody else. But I think that the coach who maybe has more of a chance to leave might be Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri.
What about Coach Bush at Washington? Because I really like him, and I think he'd actually fit pretty well at Florida. But what do you kind of think about that? Coach Fish. I'm sorry. Jeez.
Job of recruiting. I think he's built an administration. He's kind of done, I guess, the college and NFL thing, but like in a way that's smart. From being the Patriots quarterback coach to being the head coach at Arizona. So I think he'd be a really good, interesting hire at Florida. The question right now is like, the thing about the coaching carousel is that so much of the time is about timing, and I think this isn't great timing for Washington. They've been a little underwhelming. They've got a great quarterback in Devon Williams. They've got a great running back in Joe Coleman, but they haven't necessarily elevated themselves like people hope in year two. So do you take a Jeff Fish from Washington who won 7 or 8 games because he's capable of? I think that's an interesting question that Florida Florida's athletic administration is going to have to think about.
That is the story, by the way. Fish leaving a note on Coach Spurrier's car. I'm trying to find. I'm reading a book right now, Shehan. It's called The Price. The cost of, yeah. It's so good. I don't know if you've read it, but they have that story in there, and I read it yesterday, and I was like, Coach Fish to Florida, like this could be possible. And through reading the book, I wanted to ask you. I think 10 years ago, Coach Signetti probably leaves Indiana for the Florida job for all the reasons that I hear people talk about now, right? Like you're in Florida, like Clay Travis had a tweet the other day where he was talking about it. He's like, Florida's the best job available right now because you can theoretically win a national title and only recruit players within 3 hours of your campus. Coach Herman, if I remember correctly, when he was the head coach at Houston, they just put a fence up around Houston, and they kept all the players there, and they won a whole bunch of games because of that. But like college football has obviously changed quite a bit since then. I don't want to give away your rankings because I want people to go and read your article on CBSSports.com, where you rank the best openings. But how do you weigh the NIL, this like new NIL thing paired with like where the school is and the amount of talent in state and all the other things that we traditionally talk about when we talk about good jobs? That was like the thing that I kept hearing people talk about. Like Coach Signetti is going to leave Indiana because the resources at Penn State are so much better. And my thing is like, and I think in some ways like it makes our job so much harder because it's like not only do I need to know about like the in-state talent that's coming out, but I also need to know like who's Penn State's biggest booster. Do they have more money than Mark Cuban? Because that's part of why Coach Signetti stayed. And so it's created just a really interesting dynamic of coaches leaving and staying. And I find it interesting that you brought up like, is the SEC too hard? Because like if you ask people in the Midwest, then they'll tell you that the Big Ten is the best conference in college football. I don't know if that's really true or not. Where do you stand on that? I'm kind of curious because you travel around and obviously you watch a lot of college football.
broad of power ratings right now, the Big Ten has quite early top, right, with Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. And I mean that's something else. We've never seen one conference, even the SEC, have that level of dominance in a lot of things. But I think that when you talk about depth, I mean you're talking about 13 SEC teams that are above average, power conference football teams, whereas the Big Ten they might have 8 or 9. So it's kind of in the eye of the beholder in a lot of ways. When you at better power teams, kind of the top being as high as it could be, the depth being as low as it could be. I mean, by the way, I mean obviously I'm in the Big 12 country. The Bucks talk it all the time. I mean, absolutely, the Big 12 and the ACC has 2 or 3 teams that are huge brands that win national championships. But the Big 12 has probably 13 to 14 teams that are really competitive, whereas the ACC might have 6. So, it's kind of an eternal question. I mean, I think that if you're asking what is ceiling, I think that if you're asking kind of the simple question, what is the quote-unquote best conference in college football, what's the most competitive conference, I think it's the SEC. But again, like, the top of the Big Ten has kind of cleared the top of the SEC right now. There isn't a team like Ohio State in the SEC right now. There isn't. I mean, again, we'll kind of wait and see what happens with Indiana and Oregon. But like, you also look at the SEC, they haven't played in the national championship game this past year. They haven't had a team that's gotten that stage. So it's an interesting time in the sport, and it kind of comes down to just the eye of the beholder.
It does, and Big Ten fans hate it when I'm like, the Big Ten is very top heavy. Like, the Big Ten is obviously a great conference, but there's not a team in the Big Ten who's going to go through a stretch like Alabama just did, where they play a ranked team 4 weeks in a row. Like, it's just probably not going to happen. So, which I'll be honest, Shayhan, like, I'm very biased as someone who grew up in Arkansas and Tennessee and grew up in kind of like the heart of the SEC. So I am biased. With the SEC, it kind of feels like the Big 12, because I don't really know who the best team in the Big 12 is. I thought that it was Texas Tech, but then they just lost to Arizona State. People are telling me it's BYU, but I don't know. Like, I was looking at their schedule, and like, obviously the win over Utah is really good, but every other win is kind of like, I don't think any of those teams are very good. And I try really hard to not do the college football fan thing where no one is good except for the team that I like. And so I just, who is the best team in the SEC and who is the best team in the Big 12?
Obviously, they have that huge fourth-quarter road win against Notre Dame. The rest of their SEC schedule has been pretty light. I think that if week 1 never happens, I think Alabama is the best team in the SEC. And I think with the way that they're playing right now, I probably tend to lean in that direction. Georgia, I mean, I think has shown some real flaws, but also, by the way, they've got 2 great wins against Ole Miss and Tennessee. So I think that they have, at least the case as well. But if you ask me right now, I think that Alabama is probably the best team in the SEC right now. Since that week 1 game, they've really turned it on. I think that Ty Simpson has been probably the best quarterback in the country this year with the way that he's playing, especially when you're talking about pocket passing. He's been unbelievable. Of course, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Morris, there are other guys, but I think that Ty Simpson has a really good case as number 1 right now. And so, ultimately, again, I think that Alabama is probably the team that comes through, but they also need to be consistent in a way that they were not last year.
Completely agree. Joined by Shayhan Jayaraja of CBS Sports. Reed does a great job covering college football. You can read all this stuff over at cbssports.com. He's got a really good article up on just the best head coaching openings in college football right now. Arkansas number 3, which I wish it was higher, but I get it. It'll probably drop to 4 if Brian Kelly gets fired, or not. Probably it will drop to 4. Yeah, it will. And so make sure you head over there and you read all of this stuff. The ACC I find very interesting as well. I still think Miami's the best team in that conference. I know that they lost on the road. I believe no, that game was at home. I know that they lost at home to Louisville, but I mean Purdue fans here will tell you like Coach Braum is an excellent coach. If you can get Purdue to a Big Ten title game, then you're an excellent head coach. I thought Carson Beck just had the one Carson Beck game he seems to have every year, and I think they'll be fine going forward. Who's the best team in the ACC, and how do you feel about Miami after that loss last week? Clemson, but yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel about them. Like, they beat Duke. I don't know if they should have beaten Duke, but they did. And I feel that way too often whenever I watch them. But they're fun. They're one of my favorite teams in college football to watch because, like you said, like they're so physical. Haynes King, he's like a tamer Diego Pavia in. I just know that he's going to make the biggest play of the game whenever I need him to, and so they're just a lot of fun. Ohio State clearly is the best team in, or I don't know. I thought Oregon was clearly better than IU, and then I was wrong there. So maybe I shouldn't say clearly. Ohio State seems to be the best team in the Big Ten. That defense is nasty. I wonder if this is a year like 2012 where Alabama is just so clearly the best team. Is that a possibility? Like, is there a chance that Ohio State's just head and shoulders better than everyone else? Yeah.
they're throwing slants and out destroying teams that way. And I think that when the playoffs start, I mean, we saw this last year. I mean, they played very conservative, really eased up their running game. And when it was time to turn things on, they just absolutely bombed teams down the field. You saw what they did against Tennessee. You saw what they did against Oregon. And I think that is very likely. They basically have not asked Jeremiah Smith to do much of anything so much in 2025. Like, we put together our midseason All-American team sports. Like, man, he has no case of being a midseason All-American because they're not throwing him the ball at all. And so I think that's the serious thing about this Ohio State team. That I think there's another level there. Now, look, I mean, like you said, Indiana, I think that very few of us, frankly, expected them to go on the road and beat Oregon. And so that's why I ranked them number one. I mean, they've actually gone out and done it. But if you still ask me at this point, I think Ohio State is probably the best team in the country.
That's how I feel about it. I'm joined by Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports, where he covers college football. You can read all the stuff over at cbssports.com. That's how I feel about it. I do a top 12 ranking on Wednesdays, and I put IU at 1 just because I think their resume is clearly better than Ohio State's. But I do feel like Ohio State is the best team in college football. Three more questions for you, Shehan, and I will let you go. South Florida plays Memphis on Saturday. Huge game for the American Conference. I think big game for like the college football playoff. I think South Florida is pretty clearly the best group of 6 team. How do you feel about them, and who do you think kind of sits at the top of the group of 6 teams fighting for a playoff spot?
Quarterback who I think sets the tone and Byron Brown from a running perspective. You know, and look, you've got to avoid mistakes up from the North Texas, and frankly, gave them a chance to be in that game because of his mistakes. But I think that this team is playing so physical. They're playing so tough defensively. They have the ability to score points in a hurry. And we saw with the Memphis team, obviously they had a hot start to the year, but against UAB, they weren't focused, and they ultimately collapsed. So I think that South Florida is not just the best defense, but that's by a pretty decent margin. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, just like we saw with Oregon State last year, if not only are they the conference champions that make the college football playoff from the group of 6, but also if they are not the 12th seed, they end up getting 8 or 9.
Okay, if they hosted a first-round playoff game, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I didn't thought about that, but that would be really cool.
I love college football, like, so much. It's a large part of why I like sports in general. But college football fans drive me crazy, and you probably get it way more than I do. Of these 4 things, which is your least favorite thing to hear college football fans talk about? SEC bias, the AP rankings, the NIL, or where college game day is going? Yes.
Why should I care about that? It's obviously, like, I get the business aspect of it. I get, everybody's a little anxious outside of those big 2 conferences. I get all that sort of stuff. But, like, why should it matter to me? It's also, like, I think that one of these things that people kind of, that drives me crazy about this is that you are judging also these, if you're a network, you're judging these things on this mentality. So, like, it's great whenever an individual team gets, I think that Texas Ohio State is $16 million.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But, like, you're not getting a whole television contract based off of what this one game is. Like, that's not how it works. I don't understand this fan obsession with TV ratings. And ultimately, like, I see some fans, by the way, programs that maybe aren't living living up to expectations. Bragging about how good their game is, how big their brand is. And I'm like, the only reason that I care about that is if you're cutting me a check. And nobody's cutting me a check for the television ratings right now. So I can promise you I do not care.
Yeah, I don't care about that either. I'm with you. That's a really good one to add to the list. I need to just like mute the word ratings because it's not just a college football thing. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Last thing for you, Shayhan. As you know, I always ask you an Arkansas related question. Is Arkansas the best 2-5 team ever? Because that offense is insane. They just can't stop anybody. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. I don't know how I look. If they hire him, I know it'll be fun, which is way better than what it has been the past few years. Shayhan, I'm way over on time. Thank you for being so generous for giving me like 30 minutes. I really, really appreciate it, man. Talk to you. Shayhan Jayaraj of CBS Sports does a great job covering college football. We went way over. We'll be back in 4 minutes to wrap up the show. Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I got to run. Went way too long with Shayhan Jayaraja. I'll be back on the show or on the air Monday, 7 a.m. Tell your friends, tell your family. The Dan Dockett Show coming your way at noon. Great guest lineup. You don't want to miss it. Coach Venturi, Dave Revson to talk IU football. Going to be a great show at noon. I will talk to you on Monday starting at 7 a.m. Peace.